Chapter 4. Just watch it, man. You watch it, man. The two boys faced each other, their faces alive with anger. Suddenly, they both groaned in recognition. Not you again. You. You following me or something? Vince kicked at the sand with a bony foot. Jerry moved his surfboard in front of him like a shield. They tried to stare each other down, then Vince spoke first without changing his expression. Hey, you bumped me, man. You're a hard guy. You can take it. The slight tremble in Jerry's voice indicated that his heart wasn't entirely in this fight. Maybe you should stick to a boogie board, Jerry said, staring with distaste at Jerry's green day-glow baggies. Vince scratched his neck. Jerry could see the tattoo in the back of his wrist, a small black 8-ball. Maybe you should go play with your sister, Vince said, sneering, balling his big hands into fists. Vince kicked his own surfboard angrily. There's a whole ocean out there, man. Why'd you have to bump me? There's no surf anywhere, Jerry muttered, feeling a little calmer. Vince obviously didn't want to fight either. Jerry had never seen Vince without the other members of his gang around. Vince probably felt insecure on his own, Jerry figured. The undertow is real strong, but there's no surf. You gonna give me a weather report too? Vince snapped. He kicked at the sand a little harder, sending a wet clump onto Jerry's surfboard. Jerry took a step back. He stared past Vince, watching the low waves splash onto the shore. Out in the ocean, two white sailboats glided slowly by. He heard laughing voices behind him and turned to see two boys bombing down the boardwalk on unicycles, their arms waving above their heads. Just watch it, man. You've got 2 strikes against you now. Vince ran a hand back through his short blonde hair and shook his head, as if dismissing Jerry from his thoughts. He walked past Jerry, dragging his board behind him, heading to where his gang buddies were waiting on the edge of the beach near the boardwalk. 2 girls in tight pink bicycle shorts and white midriff tops skateboarded along the blacktop, looking self-consciously sexy. Vince called out something to them as they passed. They laughed but didn't slow down. Jerry watched him disappear around the curve of the boardwalk, then started back to the blanket. Hey, what was that all about? Renee called. She sat up on the blanket, her skin pink from the sun. She was wearing a small gold bikini. Her frizzy brown hair was tied behind her head with a rubber band. So, what's with you and that punk? She repeated, shielding her eyes with her hand. Oh, nothing, Jerry said, sliding behind her on the blanket. Coconut. He inhaled deeply. He loved the smell of coconut suntan lotion. What number are you using, Renee? 130? No, 8. She didn't laugh at his joke. She never did. He inhaled again, then licked her arm. I love coconut. She pulled away from him. Don't get kinky, Jerry, she laughed finally. Yuck, it tastes terrible. He pulled up the top of the cooler and pulled out a Coke. I didn't know you and Vince were friends, Renee said, lying back down, stretching out until she was comfortable. A large, high cloud rolled over the sun, covering the beach in sudden shadow. Vince, is that his name? We're not friends. He and his gang were the ones who were giving Karen and Anne-Marie a hard time Monday night. Renee frowned at the sound of Karen's name. So, why were you talking with him? I accidentally bumped him with my board, and he got mad. You shouldn't bump him, Renee said, frowning up at the dark cloud. He's bigger than you. Next time I'll bump someone small, Jerry said, sitting up straight, staring out at the water. Anyway, he decided to let me live this time. That's lucky. The cloud rolled on, and the shadow moved down the beach. Renee pulled her sunglasses down from her forehead and over her eyes. It's lucky the rest of his gang wasn't there. They'd eat you alive. Thanks for the vote of confidence. They're bad dudes, Renee said, laughing for some reason. She had the strangest sense of humor. Jerry could never figure out what she would laugh at and what she wouldn't, or why. Jerry sat silently for a while, looking around the beach, which was pretty empty considering what a nice day it was. Of course, some schools hadn't let out yet. It was only the 2nd week of June. But still, Jerry thought, the beach and the boardwalk were pretty empty. The water's pretty warm for June, he said. I saw some jellyfish. It's awfully early for jellyfish. I'm bored, Renee said, with an exaggerated yawn. Oh no, here we go again, he thought. This was the way their arguments had been starting lately, with Renee saying she was bored. Bored with what? She usually couldn't say. Jerry began to realize that she most likely was bored with him, but was just afraid to come right out and say it. Was he bored with her? Maybe. He couldn't really decide. He knew he'd been thinking about Karen an awful lot since Monday night. In fact, he'd been thinking about Karen nonstop. What do you mean you're bored? He said, sighing. Bored. B-O-R-E-D. Do I have to spell it for you? You just did. Being sarcastic doesn't help, Jerry. Being sarcastic is really boring. Look, Renee, I really don't want to start with you. Summer has just started. We're here on the beach, and... But it's boring for me to lie here while you're off surfing all afternoon. I wasn't. He slapped the blanket angrily. She could get him exasperated so quickly these days. I wasn't surfing. There's no surf. I was just testing the water a bit. You were just bouncing into that creek trying to get yourself killed. That's not funny. I didn't mean it to be. What am I supposed to do all summer, while you're running from Catalina to Malibu with your surfboard? Sit and watch? I thought you were working on your tan, Renee. He knew that was pretty lame the instant he said it. Why did he always say the first thing that popped into his head? It was such a bad habit. Oh, that's real stimulating, working on my tan. Well, you brought your wetsuit and that new snorkeling gear. Why don't you try it out? She sat up and made a face. I'm too bored. You're always bored lately, Jerry said, challenging her to say what was really on her mind, knowing that he was venturing out into dangerous waters, but annoyed enough not to care. Yeah, so? I want a little excitement this summer. That's why I think you should try surfing. That's not the kind of excitement I had in mind. She flashed him a devilish grin, but remembering she was angry, quickly turned it off. He picked up the suntan lotion, squirted a white blob of it into his palm, reached over, and started to rub it onto her shoulders. Her pink skin felt soft and tender, like a baby's. I wouldn't mind a little excitement either, he said softly, leaning over to breathe into her ear. She quickly rolled away from him. Don't be a pig. Hey. He reached for her, disappointed, insulted. You didn't think it was a pig the other night in the back of Marty's van. She angrily picked up the bottle of suntan lotion and heaved it at him. Don't talk about it like that. You really are a pig. She started to gather her things together and throw them into her yellow and white striped Giorgio beach bag. I don't know what your problem is, Jerry. I saw the way you looked at that girl Karen at Ray J's Monday night, and I saw you staring at these two girls on skateboards just now. What are you talking about? You were panting, and your tongue was practically down to your knees. What do you care? Jerry snapped. You just said you were so bored with me. She grabbed his arm. It wasn't a friendly touch. She was trying to hurt him. I just said I was bored, she said, pronouncing each word slowly and distinctly. I didn't say I was bored with you. When she let go, his arm was red. Don't get any funny ideas, Jerry. He rubbed his arm. You hurt me. I'll do worse than that if I catch you staring at another girl like that. Her words gave him a sudden chill. Then she laughed and gave him a playful shove. Lighten up, she said, shoving him again. Renee, listen. Maybe you and I should talk. Talk about what? She glared at him suspiciously. Well, it's just that... He was interrupted by a girl's voice calling him several yards down the beach. Jerry, hi. Oh, great, Renee muttered sarcastically. Jerry had quite a different reaction. Hey, he called, jumping to his feet and waving. It was Karen and Anne-Marie. Chapter 5. Maybe we shouldn't go over there, Anne-Marie said, trying to hold her friend back. Oh, why not? Karen replied in typical fashion, and strode quickly across the sand, her wetsuit under her arm. Anne-Marie, carrying a heavy beach bag, struggled to catch up. Maybe they want to be alone, she argued. But it was too late. Karen was already calling to Jerry, and Jerry had jumped up and was calling back. As Karen and Jerry greeted each other, Anne-Marie caught the look on Renee's face. It was not a happy one. Have you been in the water? Jerry asked him eagerly, as Karen dumped her wetsuit on the sand next to Jerry's blanket. Just for a little while, Karen told him. The water's so warm, Jerry said. Warm? I don't think so, Anne-Marie cried. I was frozen. That's because you don't have a wetsuit, Karen said. We've got to get you one today. Oh, right, just what I need, Anne-Marie laughed. I'll get a lot of wear out of it. It'll look really great on Madison Avenue. So far, Renee hadn't said a word. She was lying on her back, her eyes closed under her sunglasses. Karen looked down at her, wondering where she got the gold bathing suit, and remembered the threat that Renee had made to her outside the restaurant on Main Street. Such a strange thing to do. Karen couldn't imagine why Renee would threaten a total stranger. It was almost unreal, like something out of a TV soap. Was she so insecure about hanging on to Jerry? Maybe Renee should be insecure, Karen thought. Karen had been thinking about Jerry ever since Monday night. She couldn't believe her good luck when she spotted him on the beach just now. Yes, maybe Renee should be insecure, Karen thought. Jerry just might be worth fighting for, and Karen was never one to back away from a fight. Hey, whose snorkeling gear is that? Karen asked, seeing the mask and fins on the blanket and hoping they were Jerry's. Mine, Renee said without opening her eyes. Do you snorkel? I've always wanted to try, Karen said enthusiastically. Renee suddenly sat up and looked at her. Really? You've never tried it? No, never, Karen told her. May I? She walked over and picked up the mask to examine it. My parents are taking me to Cozumel in a few weeks, Renee said. They scuba, but my ears aren't good for it, so I just snorkel. They brought me this new gear, and I brought it down here to try out, but... You can't see anything in this water, Jerry exclaimed, standing very close to Karen, pretending to examine the mask along with her. It's so polluted. Well, there's a sandbar over by those rocks out there, Renee said, pointing. The water isn't too chopped up there because of the sandbar. You can probably see a little. Oh, I'd love to try, Karen cried, fitting the mask over her face and fiddling with the snorkel. Do you think you could teach me sometime? How about right now? Renee asked, surprising everyone by springing to her feet. You've got a wetsuit too, right? Yes, but I don't have a mask or fins or a snorkel, Karen said. Anne-Marie looked at Karen as if she were crazy, as if to say, Why are you being so friendly with Renee? Isn't it obvious that Renee hates your guts? But Karen seldom thought that way. She always plunged right into an activity, no matter who or what was involved. If she wanted to try snorkeling, she would try snorkeling. Jerry brought some gear, a snorkel and mask, Renee said. She turned to Jerry, who was still standing very close to Karen. Let her try on your fins. I don't think they'll fit, Jerry said, obediently walking around the blanket to get them. Karen has really big feet, Renee said. They'll probably be okay. That was an obvious dig, but Karen let it pass. She was too excited to be offended by a crack about her feet. Her feet were pretty big anyway, she realized. She sat down on the blanket and let Jerry help her into the black rubber fins. Stand up, Renee said. How do they feel? I think they'll stay on, Karen said, unsteady on the sand in the big flippers, which were heavier than she'd imagined. Okay, let's get into our wetsuits and go down to the water, Renee said. This is so exciting, Karen explained, ignoring Anne-Marie's doubtful looks. You're going over by the rocks, Jerry asked Renee, sounding concerned. Yeah, it's the only place we might see a fish or two. Don't worry, we'll be careful. What do you mean? Karen asked. Well, the current is funny over there, Renee said, pulling on her wetsuit. It's very calm because of the sandbar, but once you get close to the rocks, the current swirls around and gets pretty powerful. If you're not careful, it can push you into the rocks and make it really hard to get back. Karen looked out at the blue-green water. She found the line of tall, brown rocks Renee was talking about. They jutted out into the ocean like a natural jetty. Maybe you shouldn't go out there, Jerry said. Karen finished sipping the wetsuit and turned around to look at him. His face was filled with concern. His eyes darted nervously out to the water. Renee put a hand on his shoulder. Don't worry, we'll be okay, really. She was talking to him softly, soothingly. You and Anne-Marie can watch us from here. It'll be okay. That's odd, Karen thought. Jerry seems like such an easygoing, relaxed kind of guy. Why did he get so uptight all of a sudden? Come on, let's go, Renee said, motioning to Karen to follow her. They walked down toward the water, carrying their masks and fins. The beach was a little more crowded, Karen noticed, sunbathers taking advantage of the really beautiful afternoon, but there was no one in the water. Where are all the swimmers? She asked, catching up to Renee. People don't swim here that much, Renee said. They come for the freak show on the boardwalk, or just to chill out and catch some rays. They sat down at the edge of the water and pulled on their fins. So the breathing part isn't hard? Karen asked. No, it just takes a little getting used to, Renee said. I'll show you. Here, step into the water. She turned around and started to back in. That's right, turn around. It's a lot easier to walk backwards in fins when you're stepping in and out of the water. Karen followed Renee in. She backed up until the lapping waves were a little above her knees. The waves are breaking in close today, she said. Let's swim out past them, Renee suggested. I think we can still stand out there. They swam out a few yards to calm rolling water. Now for the mask, Renee said, holding hers in front of her. Spit into it. What? Karen wasn't sure she'd heard right. Spit into it, on the glass, and rub it around with her fingers. It keeps the glass from fogging up. Karen obediently spit into the mask and rubbed it around as instructed. You're a good teacher, she told Renee. Renee ignored the compliment. Slip the mask on like this. She pulled it carefully over her hair and slid it into place. Karen watched her adjust the air hose. Then she did the same. Renee showed her how to bite down on the mouthpiece and how to clear the hose by blowing really hard if water got inside. Got it? I think so, Karen said, eager to try it out. The important thing is to breathe slowly, normally, Renee said. If you have trouble, If the mask gets water in it or the snorkel slips out or something, just raise your hand out of the water and breathe. It's simple." "Great, let's go," Karen said. "And if you have any problem at all, I'll be there," Renee said. "I'll be right with you the whole time." She gave Karen a reassuring smile. She's not so bad, Karen thought. Maybe she was just nervous Monday night or something. She's actually really nice. "Ready?" Renee asked, pushing the mouthpiece between her teeth. "Ready," Karen said. "Okay. Remember to kick your whole leg," Renee instructed. "Don't bend your knees, and keep your hands down at your sides." "Got it," Karen said. This might be a little more complicated than she had thought. Oh well, too late to back down now. Besides, this was exciting. There is nothing Karen liked better than trying something new for the very first time. The mask was in place. The straps were tight against her head. She adjusted the mouthpiece and blew hard to clear the hose. "Here goes," she thought. She watched Renee raise her legs, lower her head, and spread out over the water, and she copied her, breathing hard and fast as she first started to float, then remembering to slow down and breathe normally. The water was dark and cloudy. She could barely see 2 feet in front of her. She raised her head out of the water and was surprised to see that Renee had gotten several yards ahead of her. Her head down, Renee was floating quickly over the rolling water, her legs scissoring rhythmically, swimming straight toward the line of tall brown rocks. Karen lowered her head again, still breathing rapidly and hard, largely from the excitement of this new experience. She kicked faster, the fins pushing her forward, her arms to her sides. She didn't want Renee to get too far ahead. The water was a little clearer now. To her delight, Karen saw dozens of small silver-gray fish, minnows probably. Dark tangles of seaweed bobbed and floated just beneath the surface. Her breathing slowed. She began to get the rhythm, to feel calm and comfortable. It was so quiet, so peaceful, so hypnotic. She began to see other fish. A large white fish with yellow markings swam right past her mask. "This is amazing," she thought. "Why didn't I ever try this before? In clear water it must be breathtaking, like descending on another world." She floated along for a while. The water became cloudy again, green like pea soup. Water tickled her face. She realized the mask was leaking. She pulled her head out of the water and lowered her legs, allowing the current to take her. Pulling down the mask, she emptied it, then looked for Renee. Where was she? Karen had a momentary shock of panic, until she realized that she was no longer facing the rocks. She was facing the beach. She must have gotten turned around while watching the fish. With her face in the water, it was so hard to keep track of where she was going. She spun around and was relieved to see Renee just a few yards ahead of her, floating slowly now, her head down, her legs moving slowly, rhythmically. She's getting awfully close to the rocks, Karen thought, but I guess she knows what she's doing. Karen looked back to the shore. They had swum out pretty far. The sunbathers were small dots of color on a yellow strip of beach. Beyond the beach, the boardwalk was just a blur. She wondered if Jerry and Anne-Marie were watching. Eager to see more, she pulled the mask back up, adjusted the mouthpiece, and ducked her face in once again. She moved toward Renee, and the water cleared as she floated, revealing more and more of its colorful, silent inhabitants. Renee was right, Karen thought. You can see better here. The water isn't thick and churned up. A bright blue fish swam up to her, seemed to stare into her mask, then sped away. What an amazing color, she thought. You never see that shade of blue out of the water. The water felt warmer now. She moved forward, the only sound the steady whoosh of her breath through the hose. Suddenly, she felt a jolt as if she were being pushed. She ignored it, but another one followed, a little harder, propelling her forward. She raised her head out of the water. To her shock, a large rock loomed right in front of her. A wall of smooth, brown rock strutted before her. She spit out the mouthpiece and turned to find Renee. "Hey!" The current was surprisingly strong. It was pushing her, forcing her toward the rocks. "I've gone too far," she thought. "I'm too close. Where's Renee?" She turned and started to swim away from the rocks, but she was lifted high as if riding on a wave and thrown crashing back. Frightened, she tore off the mask, letting it hang around her neck, and tried swimming again, but the current pushed her back. "Hey, ouch!" She was slammed into the side of the rock. Her shoulder hit hard. She bounced off, the pain running down her arm. "I've got to get away from here. I've got to swim, got to move." "Renee!" she shouted. Another thrust of the powerful current sent her slamming against the rock again. "Hey!" A jagged shard of rock tore through her wetsuit. Water poured in, so cold, such a shock. She was really frightened now. Where was Renee? There, she saw her. Renee was only a few yards away, back from the rocks, back from the treacherous current. She was floating tranquilly, her face in the water, the snorkel standing straight up. "Renee, help!" Renee kept floating, her legs kicking slowly. "Ouch!" Karen slammed hard into the rock. "Renee, please!" I know Renee can hear me, Karen thought. She's only a dozen yards away. How can she not hear me? How can she not see me? Renee, help me! The freezing water filled her suit, weighing her down. Karen struggled to swim, but her shoulder ached. She couldn't make any headway against the powerful, swirling current. Renee, can't you hear me? Renee! She watched Renee paddle along, not lifting her head. She's ignoring me. Renee! Karen screamed as the current battered her, shoved her against the jutting rocks. Renee didn't react, didn't look up, didn't turn around. She did this to me, deliberately. She led me out here. She led me to the rocks. She can hear me. She has to be hearing me. She's deliberately ignoring me. Ouch! Karen couldn't help but cry out as she hit hard against the solid rock again. I'm not going to make it. I can't get out of this current. She looked up at the rock. Maybe she could climb onto it. Maybe she'd be safe up there. She reached for it just as the current slammed her forward and her head hit the rock. Got to hang on, she told herself, feeling dizzy, forcing herself not to give into it. She tried for the rock again, but it was too slippery. She slid right off. Renee, hear me, please! Renee, don't leave me here, she cried. But the gray-suited figure didn't respond, just kept paddling peacefully, slowly along. Renee! She hears me, Karen thought. Her terror began to fill her body as the cold waters filled her wetsuit. She hears me. She's not going to look up. She's waiting there, enjoying this, waiting for me to drown. Chapter 6. It's Karen, Anne-Marie cried. Look, it's Karen, up against the rocks. Huh? Jerry leaped to his feet and, shielding his eyes with his hand, peered out at the line of brown rocks. No, Karen? Karen? With the sound of Anne-Marie's terrified cries in his ears, Jerry ran toward the water, kicking up a spray of sand behind him. He hit the water without slowing down, ran several steps, and then plunged into an onrushing wave. The water was cold, much colder than when he'd been in earlier. He shuddered and forced himself to keep moving, stretching his arms out in rapid strokes. He could still hear Anne-Marie shrieking, calling Karen's name over and over, even though she was far behind him now. Where is Renee? He asked himself. Why isn't she helping? Is she in trouble too? Jerry was a strong, confident swimmer, but the shock of the cold water and the horror of the situation had thrown him off stride. The current, he found, was tricky, swirling first in one direction, then pulling him hard in the other. What happened out there anyway, he wondered. How did Renee let Karen get so close to the rocks? Where is Renee? He kicked hard and tried to lengthen his strokes. He couldn't see the struggling girl, but he knew she was somewhere on the rocks straight ahead of him. Karen? 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 He heard Anne-Marie's cry, repeating in his mind, repeating with each stroke. Karen? 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 The name carried on the wind, carried over the water. I'm coming, Karen, he thought, his chest aching, his biceps tightening. I'm coming, Karen. Hold on. Please hold on. Renee, where are you? He thought he saw a gray figure, a snorkeling tube. Was that Renee? Jerry's right leg was cramping up. He stopped kicking for a while and let his arms do the work. There she is. He could see the red stripe on the hood of her wetsuit. Are you okay? Are you unconscious? Let me see your face. The red stripe disappeared in the swirling water. It reappeared a few seconds later. What was that bright glare? It took him a while to figure out it was the sunlight reflecting off the snorkeling mask around her neck. Hold on, Karen. I'm almost there. He felt as if his lungs would burst. His leg was still cramped, but he kicked through the pain. Hey, Jerry! It was Renee calling to him. She pulled down her mask. She looked very surprised. Jerry, what are you doing out here? Karen, he sputtered. He was breathing too hard to talk. Renee looked confused for a second, and then she must have seen Karen, seen her body battering against the dark rock. Oh no, she cried. Her mouth dropped open, her face filled with horror. She swallowed some water, started to choke. Renee, are you okay? Why didn't she call me? Renee cried. Why didn't she signal or something? They both swam toward the rock. Jerry reached it a few seconds later. Hey, can you hear me? Karen didn't reply. Her eyes were closed. Has she just passed out or something? Remembering his life-saving class, he turned her onto her back and put his arms around her. Hey, Renee, breathing loudly, arrived. Is she okay? I can't tell. She's passed out or something, Jerry said, shivering from the cold. Look, her suit is ripped. Let me help, Renee said. I can't believe it. I thought she was right behind me. Jerry was grateful for the help. The current was so strong and so strange. I've got a leg cramp. Let's get out of here, Renee said, grabbing onto Karen from the other side. They started to pull her back toward the shore. Jerry could see a whole crowd of people at the shoreline. Come on. It seems to be taking forever. It was taking forever. The current was trying to force them back to the rocks. Hope she's okay, Jerry said. Wish she'd move. Wish she'd talk to us. It seemed like hours later when they dragged Karen onto the sand. Is she okay? Is she alive? Anxious voices. The crowd rushed around them, curious, frightened, excited. Jerry and Renee quickly got Karen on her back. They pulled off the hood of the wetsuit. Get back! Get back! Renee cried angrily, waving people back. Is she alive? Is she moving? Jerry, still breathing hard, unable to catch his breath, unable to stop shivering, bent over Karen. Get back! Everybody, step back! Renee shouted, pulling back the hood of her suit, her frizzy hair matted down against her head. Suddenly, Anne-Marie came running through the crowd and flung herself down next to Jerry. She lifted Karen's head. Karen? Karen? No, don't, Jerry started. She's dead, Anne-Marie screamed. I don't believe it. She's dead?